Hey, welcome to another episode of Chad's Beer Reviews. This is a beer that I haven't reviewed on camera since 2009, and I hated it back then. In fact, I named it the worst beer of 2009. But back to the well, as they say. Good old-fashioned Heineken. Heineken. I actually re-reviewed this beer last summer, but only in text review. And let's just say I wasn't a fan of it back then. However, since then, there's been two things about Heineken that have really made me gain respect for it. One, when I was at the Beer Bloggers Conference in Boston, the Heineken International brewmaster, whatever his name was, I cannot remember his name, but he was a really cool guy. He talked, and sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you watch one of my blogs or not, you can see footage of him talking, and it was a demonstration on how to pour the beer. And he really had a respect for craft beer and everything, and he was trying to he showed about all the stuff that goes into making Heineken, which is probably what goes into making Bud, Miller, Coors, all those other types of beers. So I did gain new respect for Heineken, and also I found out that Heineken is all malt. There's no adjuncts in this. Second of all, also last summer, towards the end of the summer, when we did the Great Macro Lager Showdown, we were drinking all these macro lagers blind, and Heineken came in second. It was the highest rated pale lager out of all. Well, we did 8 pale lagers, so it was the highest rated pale lager, and it only finished behind Jenny Bach. So those two things, make me want to give this thing another shot. It's a little bit darker gold than most pale lagers. I poured it a little too conservatively. It did have the head come up to here, but it's fizzled away in the last 2 minutes. So, aroma. It smells a little cleaner smelling than your average pale lager. There's none of that dirty, corn smell to it or anything. It's actually a little sweet. Nothing really enticing about it, though. So let's give it a taste. Cheers. There definitely is a distinct difference between Heineken and American adjunct macro lagers. It's a little bit sweeter. It's also a little bit more. It's like a real bit more malt character to it. It's almost like a touch. It's like a very, 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 very faint caramel or honey kind of taste to it. It doesn't have that nasty, just that general dirty off flavor you get from adjuncts. Because I've been drinking all these fizzy little beers so close together, this one really stands out from the pack. When I reviewed it last summer, to me it just tasted like this, very, very similar to all the other ones. So it's, a little bit of malt character throughout the whole thing. There is a touch of that kind of noble hop, dry, spicy bitterness. I'm saying it's very, very, very faint. It's way down here. It's maybe you have to have I think you have to have a pretty refined palate to even notice it. The average person who drinks Heineken, they're not really drinking it for the taste. In fact, I would love to meet the average Heineken drinker. First of all, most people who buy Heineken don't get it in cans. They get it in the green bottles. The green bottles skunk and they stink, and you can taste the skunk. It's just this nasty sourness. I do get a little bit of a sourness on the finish here. Maybe you call it a tang. Just kind of it's kind of the same thing I was getting in a lot of those adjunct lagers. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tang on the finish there. But yeah, now that I've had this, awakening, re-experience with Heineken, plus drinking it from the can instead of a nasty green bottle. I don't know why they don't go to, brown bottles by now. The green is their trademark. You know what's cool on this can? It's this green part here is textured. You can actually feel it. Yeah, it's not bad. Of all the adjunct pale lagers, this in a can or on tap is, I think it's probably one of the better ones. Let's rate it on Rate Beer. Aroma, well, it doesn't smell bad. It doesn't smell good. It just smells like pale lager. I'll give it a 5. That might be a little generous. Appearance, well, The body looks good, but you know, hardly any head, hardly any lacing. Give it a 3 on appearance. Taste, you know, kind of the same thing with aroma. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it has some qualities in it that I like, but they're just so subtle. I feel like if I give it a 6, like even that would be generous. But you know, I will give it a. I'll give it a 6. Palate. According to Rate Beer, it's 5%. You know, that's right where it should be. It's the same as Budweiser. It has more flavor than Budweiser. It's really easy to drink. It's not super fizzy. I mean, as you can see, it's, you know, pretty tepid now. You know, mouthfeel's kind of on the lighter side, but it's not. I would not call it watery. I wouldn't call it thin. It is, you know, kind of crisp though. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 on palate. Overall, it's a little bit better than average, but that's not saying much. I give it a 13 out of 20. I think that's being a little generous. That's a 3.1, which I think is a 5. Or is that a low? Yeah, it's a 5. Yeah. So there you go, 5 out of 10 for Heineken. It's, you know, neutral beer. If you absolutely have to have a pale macro lager, I'd probably go with this one, or well, actually, Molson Canadian I like even better than this. Just get it in the cans, don't get it in bottles. If you get it in bottles, it's all skunky and it tastes like skunk. So, all right, so that was it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.